Onduparaka still searching for that win away from home. Darren is going to talk about that in a second. Morning, Darren.
Morning, Derrick.
Yes, Darren, 0-0 between Onduparaka and Lueza at Nambole yesterday. What are the positives you picked out, and why are they finding it so difficult on the road, Onduparaka?
Okay, yeah, I decided to begin with Onduparaka. I thought we'd begin with league leaders who are KCCA, but Onduparaka, I think it's always going to be difficult for them to win out from home. I think they'll need magic to win out from home. They'll need a miracle to win out from home, because yesterday when I watched them play against Lueza, a game that ended goalless in Nambole, I felt they knew what to do, but they did not know how to get the result away from home, and that is probably because they are a bit inexperienced regards playing in the Uganda Premier League, considering it's their first season, and most of the players are debutants in the league. And actually, if you remember, their first victory came after the coach Livingstone Babas included some faces that are used to the Azam Uganda Premier League into the team. I think Akram Kakembo and I think Ivan Mbowa. When they got into the team and settled in the midfield and at the back, that's how the team began to grind results at their stadium. Because remember, the first game of the season, they failed to beat Soana. They failed to beat Soana. The game ended goalless, and from then they went on to get results. But beyond their crowd that they have at the Betway Green Knight Stadium in Arua, here, away from home, you feel without that aura that they have when they play in front of their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, because it is actually unique and different. If you woke up, Derrick, and you were to do a play and your parents were sitting at the front at the stage, you'd perform differently. Now that's what goes through the Onduparaka players, now that they do not have that when they're away from one. But you can't write it away that they didn't have a crowd yesterday, because the pavilion in Nambole was filled yesterday, and the fans were on their feet for quite some time, but they couldn't grind the result against Lueza themselves. Lueza, who had two glorious opportunities by Pademu Humuza in the first half, but they had to call on Richard Anyama to save on one of the chances, and that's how the game ended goalless in Nambole. And I still think until Onduparaka they get that experience in the league is when maybe they'll begin to get the results. It will take them time to get their first victory of the season, and I think it's still going to take them time, because their previous result away from home was defeat against Uganda Revenue Authority.
Speaking of experience, that's what KCCA, the league leaders, are banking on right now. Seru Nkuma getting his second goal in as many games, and so did Derrick yesterday at the Champions Stadium in Mwerere against Bright Stars.
Two quick goals in the first 12 minutes. Like you mentioned, Seru Nkuma moving to top the scoring charts now with 7 goals, because Muhammad Shaban didn't score for Onduparaka yesterday, and it means now he's got 7 goals because he had a brace against Police, and if you add to the 4 goals he already had, that means he moves to 7. As well as Derrick now he scored 2 in 2, because he scored against Police, the 3rd goal, and now what you'd call the winner against Bright Stars away from home. And this is only KCC's 3rd win away from home, but remember, they've dropped all points away from home. It's why even if the gap grows now to 6 points between them and Vipers, because KCC moved to 25 while Vipers remained on 19. Vipers were out of action. It means KCC have got to keep doing the same thing. You either get to early goals and then hold up play from there. And of course, yesterday the game, there was a bit of rain in Mwerere. Actually, the second half started a bit late. That's why you find the KCC result came in way late compared to these other results that involved Saints beating JMC goal to nil, or URA drawing goalless with Police. That means URA have picked 7 points out of a possible 9 in their past 3 matches. But for KCCA, I think good stuff for them, because considering next week they'll be taking on they'll be facing Sports Club Villa next week, a big game that they do have on their hands, and they need a result like this one, because the fact that over the weekend on Saturday, Villa will be taking on Express in Nambole.
All right, moving on, Arsenal, and there was no upset for them, not the kind of fixture or result that we saw a couple of years back when they took on Reading 2-1 winners, 2-0 winners on the night there, and Liverpool 2-1 winners on the night against Tottenham Hotspurs.
Much change side for Arsenal still, but still they got the result. A good goal from Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain when he found the space at far post to give Arsenal the victory, 2-0. It means now Arsenal is yet to lose in 13 matches since they lost to Liverpool on day 1 of the season. Back in August, they haven't lost a match across all competitions. That is the UEFA Champions League, the Football League Cup, as well as the Premier League. And you think maybe it's going to go on like this, but they've got to vindicate us that probably this is the season, as many have written it all over, that this could be Arsene Wenger's last season, and probably he's got to salvage some pride, considering the fact that he hasn't won the Champions League after winning 100 games in the Champions League. He's got the FA Cup, of course he's won 2 in a row, but the biggest question remains in the Premier League, and that's why I think maybe such a result is what he needed, considering the fact that Arsenal was not that decent against Middlesbrough. They needed some saves from Peter Cech to save the day at the Emirates last weekend on Saturday. And in the other one, Liverpool beating Tottenham Hotspur 2-1. Maybe this could be the season for Liverpool. After all the times that they've knocked on the door in the season that had Liverpool finish second behind Manchester United, then they had another season therein when Steven Gerrard combined with Fernando Torres. Then they had another where Suarez combined with Gerrard, and Liverpool finished second. This could probably be it again, but of course we have to wait and see. It's early days. 9 games in the Premier League. Last night goes from Daniel Sturridge a brace, although Spurs got a penalty late that could have turned the destiny of the result, but eventually Liverpool held on. Also a much changed side, I think 11 changes. Simon Mignolet back in goal. So many players who are not starters in the Premier League turning out for Liverpool, and that's how they managed to beat Spurs. It means now Liverpool have beaten Spurs. I think this is the first time they're beating Spurs in over a season. Last season both games ended in draws. This season at the White Hart Lane, Liverpool drew with Spurs. So that's the stuff. I think Liverpool cruising. This one they could actually be contenders.
2 derbies tonight: Man City, Man United, and West Ham against Chelsea. Man City have already won the earlier one this season, the earlier derby. So which way does it go tonight?
I'll begin with the Manchester derby. Manchester City have not won in England in the past 3 matches since losing to Spurs, a draw against Everton, then another against Southampton over the weekend. While on the other side, United last saw victory in England on September 24th. That was when they beat Leicester City at Old Trafford 4-1. And you put it all together and you feel both teams are in dire thirst of a good result. And consider the fact that it is no knockout basis, where you go for extra time, you play penalties, I think the United crowd has got to come in handy here. Being a derby on a Wednesday night, I think Mourinho has found lots of stick to do with a Chinese Pogba, that he wanted to sign a Drogba, then he got a Pogba. You add the talk of Wayne Rooney because he's remained a subject of contention regards his form and whether he should start. The price of Pogba still comes in. Who starts for United? That remains another bigger question. And they are facing a City side that have lost form. You remember they won their first 6 games of the season, and now we are talking they haven't won in 3. They struggled in the Champions League against Celtic, then lost to Barcelona. Actually, if you put it together, 5 matches and City are winless. They also need to win the game. So if you put it all together, I think United having the home advantage, I think it's where the derby can only be sorted. It's only the home advantage that can give United the edge. And you know, maybe United need the result more than City, especially for Mourinho.
All right, and the other derby in London?
There have been lots of cases that have been reported regards the conduct of West Ham fans when they do face Chelsea. And there have been limits to tickets for West Ham fans ahead of that derby. Remember, I think about 7 seasons ago when the bus taking Chelsea players to the Upton Park was torn by the fans. And such incidences, you think they do play in the minds of the players going into this one. But being on the knockout basis, I still think Chelsea to stay in this one. But if there is any surprise between the 2 contests, I think West Ham to surprise Chelsea.
And yesterday, the mouth-watering draws of the University Football League Nkumba taking on UMU and Kampala University against Makerere.
Two former winners facing each other, champions in 2012, that is Makerere, facing 2013 winners, that is KU, and of course Makerere, remember they eliminated Chambogo after playing 2 legs in Luzira that ended 2-0 on aggregate in favor of Makerere, while on the other side, KU, they are making their semi-finals for the first time in 3 years, and the other semi-final that involves Nkumba taking on Uganda Matters University in Nkozi. Nkozi needed to get a goal at UCU to eventually make it to this stage, but remember they are finalists, and it's actually difficult to remember that Nkumba just a few years ago beat UMU 11 goals to nil, but UMU were in the final last year because of the policy that changed at the university, where they give scholarships to these boys that do play in the university football league. Eventually the mentality changed, they began getting quality players, and that's how they managed to make the final last year. Although they eventually lost, but seeing these semi-finals, of course the first is next week on Wednesday between Makerere and KU. Good games on cards, some good football to watch, especially for universities.
And the golf team in Addis Ababa, Adolf Muhum's and Deco and Co, including the defending Uganda Open champion Ronald Otile.
Otile, of course, and Ronald Buguma, like I told you yesterday, they joined the team in the early hours of yesterday, and of course, ahead of the action that does start proper, you think the pairings that the coach will have, that is the coach that is Amos Kamya, the 2006 Uganda Open champion, I think will play lots to who goes on to do what. Because we've seen the pairings. If you remember last year, the All Africa Golf Challenge that Uganda won here at Chitante when they beat South Africa, I thought the pairings were really sleek. Now here, of course, you find some new faces. Joseph Chinwai, the day one joint leader with Otile, if you remember, they opened this year in the fray together with Gauta Rodwell as well from Fort Portal, and then Martin Ochaya from Ntege. I'm seeing some familiar faces. Of course, they did play at the East Africa Golf Challenge that involved Uganda and Kenya, the East Africa Ryder Cup. You think with these ones, some new faces coming in, it will go down to the pairings. If you count those players, I still think one of them, whoever sits out on one of the days and is a reserve, should come in handy on the following day. But day one has got to be really excellent. The pairings that the coach will have. Who does Mwanja pair with? Does Otile partner with Baguma, because both have been in South Africa? How does it go? That's what will determine it all, and of course that's what the coach is banking on to also countries like Kenya and host Ethiopia or even South Africa.
All right, Pemba Warriors in the basketball playoffs, those are coming in thick and fast, taking on the university side, UCU Cannons.
After losing which is the second game of the quarterfinals, what is said the infant stages of the playoffs for the National Basketball League, and having lost the first game 96-65 against Warriors, you think it's time that Warriors Cannons go out and answer. Finalists last year, of course, it will be difficult to make it that far again this season. Reason being, the team has changed a lot. It does not have the thunder that it did have last season. Of course, they've had a bit of challenges here and there, but I still think they pulling one game back has been the niche for UC at these stages. Whether they are beaten or not, they usually end up winning a decider to progress to the next round at almost every level, if you compare the way they've been making the playoffs over the past 9 years or so, I should say. And that's why I think they've got a bit of advantage in this one to pull one back. Although last year, the quarterfinal stages, they eliminated our savior 2-0. They didn't go into the decider. Do they force a decider here? It's got to be tonight. Nick Natuhereza and his charges.
All right, Darren, in 30 seconds, that's what we've got left. Genoa against AC Milan. AC Milan, a different side from we knew years back.
A bit disappointed last night that Milan lost 3-0. They were the player that is Gabriel Paletta was sent off. There was an unknown goal. Milan looked like they were not the team that beat Juventus over the weekend, 1-0, and they had an opportunity to actually go above Juventus, but because they lost, they remain stuck in third place. They wait for another day, and lots of fixtures that do come up later on tonight, including Napoli. Napoli will take on
Empoli.
Yeah, in the contest later on tonight. So I think Milan, they flattered to deceive last night. Vincenzo Montella, I still demand him for that result last night.
All right, much more Serie A coming your way tonight. Juventus against Sampdoria, Inter against Torino, Sassuolo against AS Roma, and Fiorentina against Crotone. That will do it for this edition of Morning at NTV Sport. Have a good day.